Okay, hey, we're back, and this is like a few seconds after we ended the last one because this is going to be, shown as an hour. Ideally, it may not what happened, whatever. But in New York City and in Manhattan, our MNN cable network. Anyway, this is like welcome to Free Will, exploring the illusion of free will. My name is George Ortega because this is like for this show in White Plains, half an hour. The title, the topic of this episode is Free Will, and we got you now, President-elect Trump, Part 2. All right, I want to get, I didn't talk that much about the we got you component because, like, Trump is a bad person. He's bad. There's bad people like, Hitler was bad, Mussolini was bad. There's some really bad people. We are not as good as we think we are. The clock, guys. All right, I'm not sure what's happening with that, but whatever. Anyway, so Trump is not a good person, and again, even though he doesn't have a free will, right? We don't blame him and all, but we still have to go after him. Like with Hitler, we weren't going to say, oh, he doesn't have a free will, so let's it's wrong to fight against him. No, they're still self-defense. They're still defending the good. So the part of we got you now, President-elect Trump, is like it's relatively difficult to attack a candidate, who's running for president, because, like, for example, the Democrats were afraid to attack him too much because then, like, they might have been seen as they might think it backfire. For example, Trump refused to release his income tax forms returns. And President Obama had the authority to release them, but he didn't do that because he was afraid that would be perceived as partisan and that would backfire and more people would support Trump. All right, so that's Trump as the candidate. Now, Trump as the president, he doesn't have those kinds of protections. So basically, the kinds of attacks on him that we should have been waging, attacks meaning that we should have been doing more to demonstrate to the American people how bad this person is. Now that he's president-elect, and even president-elect, even before he becomes president, and when he's president, we can launch this attack. In terms of we're trying to understand why this happened, how somebody who, like the New York Times and all these major prognosticators, political prognosticators, had at like a 1 or 2% chance of winning, actually won the election. I mean, Hillary was really the major networks, NBC, CBS, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all these sites, they had Hillary's chances as 85, 90, 95, 99% of winning. So we're trying to figure out how did this happen. All right. One thing I think happened was you have the media who unfortunately is owned by very rich people, and they're not really, they're businesses. They're trying to make a profit, So what happened is they felt that, a Trump presidency would not be in their interests. So I think they were successfully presenting the information in a way that got people to understand that. But I think what happened is they didn't really want Hillary to also win the Senate, because they were, I think, afraid that if Hillary won the Senate, she would appoint a new Supreme Court justice who would overturn Citizens United versus FEC, which is this ruling that the previous Supreme Court made that just allowed unlimited, essentially, amounts of money in politics. So it's basically, it gave our government, our political system to the rich. So the media, in other words, the media didn't want Hillary to win by that much, and they guessed really badly, really poorly. They guessed that they had attacked Trump enough to assure that he wouldn't be the president, but not enough to assure that Hillary would win the Senate. And that's one explanation of what happened. It's like what can you do? We've got to find some way to get money out of politics. But all right, so what else? So all right, so I took some notes because I didn't know what I was going to say in this. One thing this election taught us many lessons. One lesson is, for example, we have the Electoral College that decides our presidents, and actually, like in this election, there were, I think, one or two of people in Electoral College who were planning to not vote for Hillary. They're supposed to vote for the person who wins. They were planning not to, which is like, that's scary. But the other thing is, like, for example, I think in 2000, Gore won the popular vote, but he lost the election. And in this election, Hillary won the popular vote. Hillary got more votes than Trump, but because of the Electoral College, Trump still won. So I think that's something we need to look at and fix. Another thing is, like, Trump misrepresented so many facts during his campaign. Facts about Hillary, facts about the country, facts about the economy, just like, on and on and on. And we don't have a law against this. It's legal for political candidates to say whatever they want, to deceive people however they want. And, no judge or jury or, judicial system can say, we're not going to allow you to do that. And incidentally, this same, unbridled speech is a part of Congress. In other words, our House representatives and senators can pretty much say anything they want, whether it's true or not, without any kind of repercussions. So essentially, we have a political system where our leaders are legally allowed to lie to us and get away with it. And I think we're beginning to understand how that's not so wise of a thing to allow. The big thing, for example, this reminds me of climate change. The whole entire Republican Party, Donald Trump including, is denying that climate change is happening, even though they know full well it is. And this lie is like, threatens us, God, 100 times more so than this, 1,000 times more so than this Trump presidency. Talk about threats to civilization. But again, we don't. It's weird sometimes how our world and our country works. We have laws that prevent cigarette manufacturers from putting labels on their cigarettes saying, these cigarettes are safe. We have laws against that because we know that we want to protect the citizens from false advertising. So there's laws against false advertisings, but there's no law against politicians, candidates, senators, House members lying to us. This is an imperfect democracy, and I think maybe one of the lessons of this election is that we had better start perfecting it a bit more. We need more work. It's not good enough. It's got these kinds of like loopholes and these weaknesses that can be exploited, like Trump exploited them in this election. All right. So anyway, we're talking again. So what can we do about this? Let me just go through a bit of what I was thinking. Okay. Yeah, now in terms of Comey, Comey is the FBI director who leaked this information about the emails. He may have cost Hillary the election. Apparently Hillary had the momentum going her way. Then he came out with this, and it was completely partisan. He actually may be tried for sedition, which is like, a very, very, high crime. It's kind of like trying to create a coup, an illegal coup. What he did, but so who knows what's going to happen with that. Okay, what else? All right, so what do we do about Trump? I think, because again, Trump is kind of like our Hitler in a way. He's like, we're not going to allow him to do, to get anywhere near like what Hitler did. But we have to stop them, quickly. We have to stop them soon. And so one way we can do that is to boycott all of his corporations, all his products, Ivanka's his children's companies, just a massive global boycott of his products. We want to bankrupt him. He's a billionaire now. We want to make it so he has no money and he's actually in debt. And one way we can do that is by boycotting his products. Another thing we can do is launch lawsuits against, if not him, I don't know if our laws protect sitting presidents from being sued. I think to a certain extent they do, which, it's somewhat understandable, but it's scary in a way. Maybe it depends on the crime. But his companies are not, protected from these lawsuits. So yeah, in addition to the boycotts, we have to launch dozens, hundreds, who knows, thousands of lawsuits so that it'll take him down just legally. He'll have to pay so many lawyers to defend him that whether he wins or loses will be inconsequential because so much money will be spent, him trying to defend himself. All right, so that's another thing we can do. And I'm sure there's other ideas that, so in other words, we have to act. We can't allow him to get away with this. And it's unfortunate. His supporters, you can't really blame them, about this free will thing. You can't blame them because a lot of them are just not educated. They're poor. They're just Trump is deceiving them. Trump, is lying to them and they don't see it, okay? So, but we can't really blame them. But we really do have to unite and go after Trump completely. I mean, they were talking about, launching impeachment hearings for Hillary even before she became the president. Well, I don't know if Trump will be impeached. He may be because the Republicans see him as a threat also. But we have to kind of take that same attitude. It's we can't really do the good that needs to be done in the world until we attack him. Sometimes, there's a time for peace, there's a time for war, and this is hopefully this will be a peaceful political and economic war against Trump and what he stands for. But, we really have to do this because our future depends on it. All right, so what else? Animal rights. I want to go over this again. We don't have a free will. Nothing we do is up to us. That's the surreal nature of reality. And this is episode, what is this? Episode number 212. We've done over 200 episodes on this over the course of 6 years now. And this is a powerful thing for people to know because it's the truth and it would change a lot of things. But, all right, we have no free will. But all right, I lost my train of thought. I don't know, 'cause we're just going for an hour or so. All right. Oh yeah, the animal. Sorry. So all right. God controls everything. All right. We don't have a free will. God controls everything. I mean, if you want to say the laws of nature control everything, in my view, God and the laws of nature are synonymous because if God controls everything and the laws of nature control everything, God and laws of nature are the same thing. So anyway, but notwithstanding, the way things work is that when we do good, God or the laws of nature reward us, and when we don't do good, we're punished. So in asking ourselves why would something like this happen? Why would God allow a person as evil as Trump to become the president? It might be a wake up call for us. It might be a warning sign that, for example, for decades now, maybe since the advent of the 1900s, going back that far, we have essentially systematically tortured animals, farm animals. These farms, the way they treat them, and these are people used to say, oh, animals don't feel pain. Our science has evolved enough that we understand fully that yes, we do feel pain, and that animals do feel pain. I mean, come on, who's going to deny that dogs and cats feel pain? So like pigs are more intelligent than dogs, they certainly feel pain. And for example, a pig will be confined, like a female pig, a sow, will often be confined in a stall so small that the pig can't even turn around for months at a time. And they literally go insane, because of this, And I mean, it's so horrific, this kind of torture. And we're doing this, and just like people deny and ignore this issue of free will, people deny and ignore this extreme cruelty to animals. That's why I'm wearing this hoodie today. Just, it's the idea is like, we think we're really being good people and that we deserve, continued blessings into the future. But no, again, it's not our fault. We don't have a free will. But the way we're treating these animals is so evil. 60 billion animals are essentially tortured in factory farms every year. I mean, it's mind-bogglingly unbelievable. And so, yes, I mean, it could be for those of us who believe in God, who believe in justice, who believe in mercy and reward and punishment, this is a no-brainer. If you truly believe that, and you're eating meat from these farms and stuff, and you're not like fighting against this, well, I mean, like, Trump is probably a wake-up call and a warning. If we don't heed our ways, I mean, our country has gone through some horrible stuff. There was a civil war, a bit over 150 years ago. That was really, really devastating. There were World War I, World War II. There was the plague in around 1918 that killed as many people as World War I did. A lot of like horrible stuff can happen in our world. And climate change is another kind of a threat. But the difference between what we do to animals and climate change is like a lot of people can't believe that climate change is happening because like, I don't know, they can't understand it and stuff. And they, and it's in the future, so they're not able to like project into it and see, oh my God, we have to do stuff now for the sake of our kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. A lot of people, unfortunately, aren't able to think that clearly and that much into the future. But with this animal issue, no, we can. There are videos of what goes on in these factory farms all over the internet. Just YouTube it. I mean, there's one specifically that's narrated by Alec Baldwin. It's called Meet Your Meat, M-E-E-T, your M-E-A-T, and it's 12 minutes, and it just like, I watched it once. I can't watch it anymore because it's really difficult to watch. It's to see all that cruelty that happens daily. So why did Trump happen as our president? We needed apparently something to wake us up from our delusion that we're good people. I mean, again, we should have known this. We should know this from our ignoring climate change, from not fighting enough, to fight climate change. We should have known this from the 30,000, kids under the age of 5 that die every day of causes that are poverty related and that are largely preventable. And this has been happening for decades, 30,000 kids every day for decades. We should, understand that we're not really all that good because of that. But again, but this animal thing, it's clear. You can't, it's undeniable. And so, so like Trump is our wake-up call. Trump maybe is just the idea that like if we're not as moral as we need to be, as we could be, as we should be, then we should expect a punishment, because that's how we understand the world works. And I'd be the first to say it's not fair. I mean, it's how fair is it for God to make us, torture these animals and to make us ignore the plight of these poor, and then punish us for it? Because, again, we don't have a free will, so it's God making us do this stuff. That's certainly not fair. But I don't have the answers to everything. But I do know that we don't have a free will. And that the way the world works is that if we do things that are not good, we're punished in some way or another. A good way to understand is like if we're not careful, let's say we're walking in the dark and we're not careful where we're walking, we might stub our toe or something and feel the pain of it. So like, and that's just a minor thing, but, all right, so again, this, and again, this might be sometimes, we have this idea that, fine, everything is predetermined, everything is causal, nothing's up to us, because things happen for a cause, things happen for a reason. And it could be that, this Trump presidency happened for a very good reason, that like, that we needed to be woken up to the fact that we have to fight more to do what's right, And so I think people now are sufficiently awoken and perhaps frightened, depressed, whatever, to a certain extent. And so maybe, this is kind of like maybe like an intervention. Have you heard, let's say when somebody's either a drug addict or an alcoholic and they're in denial, they tell their friends and their family, no, I don't have a problem, whatever. So then like, all these people get together and confront the person, and say, yes, you have a problem, you need to seek treatment, and that becomes the beginning to this person, finding redemption, being able to overcome his addiction to alcohol or whatever. And so, essentially, we, supposedly good people who didn't vote for Trump, who know better, I think have a calling now to do a major intervention on those Trump supporters, on those people who just, didn't think things clearly enough, strong enough. All right, so that's something that I think we need to do. So what else? All right, I don't know. We're still trying to like find out. I got to figure out what I got to do. 2 more episodes in about I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes or so. And I'll repeat some of the stuff because it bears repetition. So, and this election actually pointed to a major flaw in our polling. In other words, like, so many polls were coming out showing that Trump was losing by 4 points, by 5 points, by 6 points, and like he won, in a way that completely surprised the pollsters, so, in terms of just the future elections and stuff, we got to figure that out. How did we not know that so many people are supporting Trump? What did they lie to the pollsters when they were called? They asked, well, like, are you supporting? There's in psychology, there is something that's known as the good subject effect. In other words, like some people will tell researchers what they want to know just because they want to please the researcher. They don't want the researcher to, let's say, become angry with them. So you have like somebody calling one of these poor people, whatever, and ask them, are you going to vote for Trump or Hillary? And they're saying, oh, I'm going to vote for Hillary just because they don't want to be, seen as doing the wrong thing in the eyes of this person calling them. So anyway, that's part of it. All right, we're running out of, well, no, we got another 4 minutes. Let's do some free will thing. All right, we don't have free will. In other words, like we should not blame ourselves for having elected Trump. We shouldn't blame Trump for being Trump. We shouldn't blame Trump's supporters for supporting Trump because we don't have a free will. Why don't we have a free will? There's a lot of ways to explain that, but let's go with the most basic. Because everything that happens for a cause. And some of you might immediately be saying, no, not everything that happens is caused. But, I mean, yes, everything is caused. But even if you posited, if you speculated maybe some things were not caused, that wouldn't help free will because the best that would get you is that, like, we do something, like elect Trump, and there's no cause for it. But if there's no cause for it, there's no way we can be doing it with our free will. Because free will basically the idea of free will says that we of our free will are causing our choice. We are causing ourselves to behave as we do. So anyway, so like, just claiming that not everything is caused does not defend free will. But the reason we don't have a free will is because everything is caused. Like, for example, our country elected Trump as presidency. There's a cause to why that happened. And I think, we don't know why that happened, because a lot of times we don't know the causes for why things happen, but there always is a cause. And then the thing is, like, so there's a cause for why we voted for Trump, there's a cause for that cause, there's a cause for that cause, and this chain of cause and effect goes back in time, cause by cause by cause. Because, like, a cause can never come after what it causes, right? It always has to come before. So if there's a cause for our voting for Trump, and then there's a cause for that cause, and a cause for that cause, you see this chain of cause and effect regresses back moment by moment, cause by cause, till it's like back before, our lifetimes, back before civilization, before the planet was created, and ultimately back to the Big Bang and whatever came before. That's what we're going to have free will. But again, like, relative to what's happened, so, like, fine. What we advocate in this show is, like, understanding that we don't have a free will helps us to be more compassionate toward each other, because we don't blame each other and we don't inordinately want each other punished, and that applies to ourselves also. So fine, we don't want to, like, punish or hold responsible Trump or his supporters more so than it's necessary, but there's a bit of punishment that's necessary in order to deter future Trumps from happening, and in order to deter Trump from doing some horrible things that he has claimed that he would do. And so, like, that's the difference. In other words, there was a study made, like, half of the people in the study were led to believe we have a free will, and the other half were led to believe we don't. And then they were saying, well, somebody convicted a crime, what should the penalty be? What should the punishment be? And the free will believers believe that the person should be punished twice as severely as the unfree will believers. So, like, it's not that we do away with justice and punishment and all this stuff, but we fulfill it in a much more legal sense. All right, so we're wrapping up here. Again, we're trying to, like, explore what this Trump presidency means. I'm going to come back here in another, again, hour and 15 minutes to tape another hour of this. So, like, hopefully I'll come up with more new information, maybe do a little searching, whatever. And yeah, I mean, we haven't, like, addressed free will completely with a lot of this, but this is important. I mean, like, do this show to help create a better world, and like, finding a way to deal with Trump, to oppose him, to defeat him, is certainly necessary, just like we defeated, Hitler and all these people. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll go see you soon. Bye-bye.